Up first, Cornerstone Wellness Center back with us to talk about their services helping to reverse neuropathy. Joining me, Dr. Doug Kane, a.k.a. the Neuropathy Doctor from the Cornerstone Wellness Center. And Doug, you brought a guest today. Welcome, David Allen, who is a patient of Dr. Kane's, and it is a pleasure to have both of you here on the show today.
It's always good to be here.
And we've heard so much about what you do. We've heard so much about the story that got you involved in A, chiropractics, but then B, the secondary story that got you into focusing on neuropathy for the better part of the last decade. And this has led to the help of so many people getting their life back. We're not talking about masking the symptoms. We're talking about reversing them altogether, getting back to a place that people never thought they could before. So before we get into his story, because I know we got a good one, remind everybody a little bit about what you do and why neuropathy has become something of a huge focus for you.
Sure. I was taught in school, and if you had talked to me 10 years ago, I would have told you there's nothing that can be done for neuropathy. You just have to learn to live with it. That's how all of us in healthcare were trained, until you learn that there's something different. You know, you don't know what you don't know until you learn. And then you feel like, okay, I've got a responsibility to share this information with people. My mother was diagnosed with chemotherapy-induced neuropathy, and that was my entrance into this arena. And we've been doing it for 9 years now with a 98% success rate. I'm actually board certified in neuropathy at this point. So yeah, we've been able to help a whole lot of people.
And one of them is obviously sitting next to you right now. Introduce us to David and tell me a little bit about him.
Yeah, so this is David Allen, comes from an engineering background, and so that's what I love about the way his mind thinks. It's all about problem solving in engineering. My son's an engineer as well, and that kind of gets back to that root cause stuff. Is let's just not mask the symptoms. Let's get to the why. Why is this not working like it should? I've mentioned before, according to Johns Hopkins in the medical literature, there's 140 different causes for neuropathy. Diabetics being the most common. Okay, it also can be a circulatory issue. David actually checks both of those boxes, so he had good reason to develop this over time. Orthopedic-related issues like back problems, back injuries, and surgeries. Sometimes the nerves to the feet get involved when you have hip replacements or knee replacements. Those nerves from the low back to the feet can get involved. And neuropathy can affect any nerve in the body, but generally feet first because they're farthest away from the heart, and hands secondarily. We see that a lot more with chemo-induced, but that's very easy to treat now.
And I want to go back to that time before you went to see Dr. Kane. David, walk me back from that point. How did you figure out that this was something that you needed to have addressed? How did you end up in Dr. Kane's office, where he was able to obviously do a lot of work for you, where you're willing to come on TV and actually talk about it? That's that really says something right there.
Well, I owe a lot of that to my daughter and my wife, because my daughter she saw Dr. Kane's advertisement outside of his clinic, and they kept beating on me about it because I was having pain in my feet that would wake me up in the middle of the night. White hot, burning, tingling, walking on pins and needles. And it was funny because it was only my right foot. It's almost like a couple of years ago I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And it was like you flipped a switch because my foot started almost hurting almost immediately. It had turned pretty much purple. So I could tell the circulation was down. It was cold constantly. And I complained about it to the point where I quit complaining. And it was just, sometimes I could walk it off. A lot of times I couldn't, and it just hurt constantly. I'd be driving and get a stabbing pain, and my leg would jerk. And finally, after my daughter beat on me enough, I said, okay, I'll give him a call. And I went in and saw Dr. Kane, and here we are now, pretty much cured.
Well, you mentioned before the engineering background. That's something too, where you've got to be moving around, you got to be on your feet, you're using your hands. When you start losing the feeling in the extremities that are furthest from the heart, as we learned, that's where they happen. So feet, fingers, hands. Well, that probably takes a toll on what you're able to do. And if that's the way you're still thinking and you still want to be able to do that kind of stuff, to not be able to feel when you're walking, that I'm sure that took a real strain on your life. And I'm sure Dr. Kane was also able to at least get you back to a point where you can do some of that again.
Yeah, it was tough. I worked for GE, and I was doing a lot of walking on the floor, and that got to be literally a pain. And it's tough to walk when one of your feet you can feel and one of them's numb. So yeah, it's been there have been some big things in my life that changed my life. Getting married, having the kids, when I had surgery for cataracts, and then this. This has changed everything. My feet don't hurt. I can sleep. They don't tingle. I can feel them. The bottom of my feet feel warm. It's been a life changer.
And Dr. Kane, just from your perspective, when he walks into the office, take me back to that and how you were able to actually help him reverse those neuropathy signs and symptoms.
Yeah, we start off like we do with everybody with a very thorough consultation, evaluation. We get a baseline on how much nerve loss has occurred, and then we work back from that and we monitor every 90 days. David hit on a couple of important things. As men, we kind of put stuff off. There's a reason our wives tend to outlive us, but don't do that. It's like he's telling you, you can get that quality of life back. It doesn't have to be that way forever anymore. And the other thing, David had a couple of different issues in that with diabetes, obviously affects all of the cells in the body, but his circulatory issues only affected more so on that one right side. So we can see combinations of things, but also has a defibrillator. So that's an important message for a lot of people out there. It's just like, don't think because you have a defibrillator or a pacemaker, this precludes you from any of the kind of the stuff that we do. We tailor make all of our treatment programs. It's never a one-size-fits-all.
Yeah, and it's not always painful to start, too. I mean, you talked about one of the signs that it happens is it feels like there's a wrinkle in your sock, and you look and maybe you're not even wearing socks, but it still feels like that. And maybe it's a nuisance at first, it's annoying, but if you let that get to a point where then you can't walk, you can't do what you want to do, that causes a lot of problems. So in the last 20 seconds or so here, tell us what they need to do next in order to start addressing those issues.
Yeah, don't wait. Pick up the phone, call the number on your screen. There's real live human beings in my office ready to take your call. You won't be speaking with AI, and we will get you in as quickly as possible. We're not one of those offices where it's going to take 2-3 months to get in. We'll be able to see you in a matter of days. We're very efficient that way.
MyDrKane.com. You can also call 812-949-0900. You can also text that number if you don't want to talk to a real human being, because sometimes that's, they don't want to do that. But I appreciate so much you guys joining me today, and David, you for telling your story and sharing it for everyone. We've got